What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here to talk about Spurs once again. More content coming your way, and today we're going to be focusing on the AFCON and the Asia Cup due to start in January. And obviously we've got Pape Matar Sarr, Yves Bissouma and Heung-min Son all going to represent their respective countries at both tournaments. So we're going to be looking at what games they could potentially be missing and how much of a loss it will be for us coming in to the month of January. You know, it's like just so frustrating, isn't it? Because we've just got over that kind of hurdle of the 4 losses and draws and come back in great form against Newcastle. And then we just got to look forward to January losing even more players after all the players that we have lost. So how much of a frustration is it for you?
Yeah, considering all the injuries we got as well at the moment, we've already got a number of players who are most likely going to be missing a lot of January. Van der Ven, Maddison, Bentancur, long-term injuries, Solomon, Perisic as well. So you add into the fact that now we've got 3 players going away in January for international tournaments, guaranteed to miss at least 3 games, depending on how well their respective countries do in the tournament. Albeit, Son for South Korea is one of the favourites in that tournament. Senegal usually do quite well in the AFCON, and obviously Mali. They're probably projected to get out of the group stage at least in that competition. So they're probably going to miss at least four games. Son likely to miss probably a lot more. So it's going to be very frustrating. Obviously, we've got 4 games for Senegal in January.
Senegal are actually the favourites.
Senegal are the favourites. Obviously, we do have 4 games between now and when they're set to miss a lot of the games. So we have to build up as many points as possible before they leave. But yeah, when January comes, it's going to be very frustrating. It'll be interesting to see if Tottenham do decide, based on these players missing, to dip in the market. But in terms of Premier League games, we'll take a look. But they're not set to miss too many unless they get to the final.
Well, both tournaments run for pretty much the same time. The AFCON is from the 13th of January to 11th of February. The Asia Cup is from the 12th of January till the 10th of February. So pretty much the same time. When you're looking at well, let's have a look at the players and what they could potentially miss. So first of all, the 6th of January, we got Burnley at home in the FA Cup. The 15th of January, we got Manchester United away. And the 27th of January, you've got the 4th round of the FA Cup. So those 3 games are 100% out of the question for these players.
Those are the 3 group games.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we'll have to wait and see if the teams progress. But I do fully expect South Korea and Senegal to progress, that's for sure. So South Korea and Senegal are both favourites for the tournament. So that's a massive kind of indication of how far these teams are expected to go. Brentford at home on the 31st, Everton away on the 4th of Feb, and then the last game will probably be Brighton at home on the 11th of Feb.
Which is the final day for both tournaments.
Yeah, so you'd say they'll need a bit of rest if they do get to the final as well after that. So could they potentially miss the game after that as well?
I would say no. The reason I would say depends how long the gap. I don't know when the next game is between. If it's a week, I don't think they would miss the next game. I would assume the next game is on the 17th of Feb, which would be Wolves at home. Albeit actually the game hasn't been booked for TV yet on the in February, so I guess they're all subject to change. But if it's 17th, Wolves at home. Look, at the end of the day, they're playing an international tournament, but it's pretty much similar to, maybe it's probably a bit more, but look, that's for how many games is that? 5, potentially 5 games, and they're playing those games in international levels. It's the same thing. It's not really that much, not like they're playing so much more. Yeah. So I don't see a need for any extra rest. Like, I don't think it'll need a 2-week break. And also the World Cup, they came back very quickly after a week. So look, they'll have to be assessed. Obviously, when they come back from the tournament, maybe they will need they'll have to assess it on an individual basis. But in terms of the games being played, if they all get to the final, I don't see a need for more than a week's break.
Yeah,
they come back.
That's fair point. If we look at the individual countries, starting off with South Korea, they're in a group with Malaysia, Jordan, and Bahrain, and they're probably expected just to romp home that group, aren't they?
And yeah, I think they expected to finish that group top as well. And if they do finish top as expected, that means they will play, let me just get it up. So they're in Group E. So if they win that group, they will play the runner-up of Group D. And Group D consists of Japan, Indonesia, Iraq, and Vietnam. So unless Japan have a surprise and finish second, you're expecting them to get through that as well.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, you're expecting them to get to the quarterfinals. Although if they do face Japan somehow, they could easily be out by that.
That's
round
probably
of
the two
18.
favourites of the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. So if they win that, then it gets. I don't know if I can work it all out. If they win that, they would play the winner of Group C, which would be Group C is Iran, UAE, Hong Kong, or Palestine.
Probably Iran.
So maybe Iran in the quarters.
Who are no slouches either. They're a good side, Iran.
Yeah, they showed in the World Cup, didn't they? They could easily give them a very good game. Then it could easily be winner of Group A potentially, which could be Qatar, China, Tajikistan, or Lebanon. I'm looking at this. It seems like a path to the final, to be honest.
Yeah.
For South
No,
Korea.
I mean, it doesn't matter who they're going to play. With being the favourites, or not, if not the favourite, or one of the favourites, they're going to go very deep into this tournament, if not go to the final. But it's actually a massive tournament for South Korea. They haven't won it since the '60s, just a bit like Spurs. And I actually fully expect South Korea to win this tournament.
Yeah. Look, I think on paper, probably Japan are only the team who are better than them on paper.
Yeah.
So if it's a Japan South Korea final, it's a bit of a toss up. But do I expect? Look, South Korea are very strong, especially right now. Got a lot of players playing in Europe.
Yeah.
I think back in the day they had maybe not as many, but right now I think most of their team play in Europe, and that goes to show the quality of their team. I do think Japan on paper are the better team, but apart from them, I think for sure they're better. I think they got the best squad probably going into it. So no reason for them not to fear anyone.
All right, well, let's look at the AFCON then. We'll start off with Mali and Yves Bissouma. They're in Group E with Tunisia, South Africa, and Namibia. That's not an easy group for Mali. I really don't think that's an easy group. I think South Africa will give them a good game. Tunisia will give them a good game. Namibia, I'm not too sure about them. But there's no guarantees that Mali go far in this tournament.
You got to remember in both tournaments, by the way, third place in four third place teams qualify for the next round. So only two third place teams miss out. So even if you finish third, you're quite likely to qualify as long as you get a decent points total. So I would say even if Mali don't finish top two, it's still quite likely they'll qualify for the next round. But 100%, it's not a foregone conclusion. I think Tunisia are a solid team. We know South Africa can be decent as well. I would still put them probably just behind Tunisia as favourites to go through. Probably a bit over South Africa and Namibia, but definitely not a foregone conclusion there.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just have a look at the odds for Mali and how high up they are, because I don't see them in any. I mean, they're quite far down. What group did I say that is?
Group E. If they say, let's say
they're second favourites for that group.
If they finish, let's say they finish runner-up in Group E, they'll face the winner of Group F, which is potentially Morocco.
Right. Well, that's a hard.
So
you'd expect Morocco to win that.
So they could be out round of 16, which would mean he could be back for Everton away.
Yeah. That's like probably one of the best case scenarios, isn't it?
Yeah.
For them to miss 4 games, but that's Mali. In terms of Senegal are the holders and the favourites of the tournament. They are in a group with Cameroon, Guinea, and Gambia. And that's actually a really hard group when you're looking at it. Cameroon will be a really hard game for them. Guinea is also a fairly hard game. Gambia, you do expect them to beat. But they are favourites for the group and favourites for the tournament. So I do expect them to progress. But you never know what can happen in knockout, international tournaments. They could easily go out in that group phase game. I wouldn't put it past, but I do expect them to go through.
Again, I don't expect them to finish below third, and third is likely to see them qualify still. So I expect them to get out of the group. I 100% agree about winning the group. I don't necessarily think it's guaranteed they win that group. With Cameroon, a very strong team. We saw in the World Cup as well. I think they beat Brazil, didn't they, in the World Cup in their final group game?
There'll be no Abu Bakar to save them this time.
No, not this time. And then, Guinea have got some good players in their squad. There's not a foregone conclusion there. But let's say they do win their group. They're in Group C. That means they would be winner of Group C, placed third in Group A, B, or F. It's complicated because it depends who qualifies, basically. So that could be.
Look, if they're facing anyone that's finished third, you expect them to beat
I'm looking
them.
at the third place teams potentially here, and you expect them to beat them. But if they do finish, let's say they finish runners up in Group C, runner-up in Group C, they would play runner-up in Group A. Now, runner-up in Group A could be one of Ivory Coast or Nigeria, and either of them is a tough game.
Yeah,
and no guarantee they win that.
Yeah.
So if they don't win that group, then he could be back for Everton away as well.
Ivory Coast are third favourites to win the tournament, with Algeria being second favourites.
And Nigeria.
Huh?
Nigeria.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying
sorry.
Algeria are second favourites to the tournament.
Right. Where are Nigeria?
Nigeria,
they got a decent team,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're about seventh favourites.
Oh, right.
You got Egypt, Cameroon, Morocco, Ivory Coast, Algeria, then Senegal.
Interesting. Well, so Senegal win that group again. That gives them a clear pathway to at least the quarters or semis.
My prediction, well, not my prediction, but what I can see happening in terms of these players and how many games they're going to miss, I would probably say it's a safe bet that Sonny and Pape Matar Sarr could miss the whole lot, with Yves Bissouma potentially coming back for one of the last two games. I think that's what's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be tough to lose them for so long, but that's the reality. So that's 4 Premier League games potentially they could be missing, which is a lot.
Let's hope we're still in the bloody FA Cup by the time they come back. And you're looking at it like, what's our midfield going to be for that Manchester United away game? Our first two choice midfielders, Bissouma and Sarr, are going to be gone. So you're looking at Højbjerg, Lo Celso and Kulu. But then does that mean we're putting Brian Hill back out on the left wing?
Not necessarily, because because we have Son. So yeah, probably. You've also got Skip. You got Højbjerg, who's going to have to get some games.
Højbjerg's 100% going to be playing. Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Kulu. Probably.
Yeah, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Kulu. Yeah, I guess it has to be Brian Hill. Who else do we have? You put Richarlison, Brennan, and Kulu, and then maybe start Skip. I don't know.
It's going to be really difficult, man. These games are we're just going to have to try and get by. We're lucky that we're coming up against the Manchester United side, who are bang out of form and don't look good at the moment, obviously. Brentford is actually very interesting because Wissa and Mbeumo are both going to the AFCON. So that could work in our favour a little bit. I quite fancy us without those players, playing a Brentford team without those players as well. Because without Wissa and Mbeumo, like, what do they have really?
Yeah, true. It's very light up front.
Yeah.
But I think there's Tony back by then.
Tony's January, he might be. I think he's back 15th of January, actually.
Yeah, so he would be
Tony will be back. That's a good point, actually. In terms of Everton, I don't think Everton got anyone going to the Decore,
potentially,
which is a big miss for them. And Brighton got Lamptey and Adingra.
Yeah,
missing.
but that's on the 11th. Will they still be missing? Probably not.
So, look, it's going to be difficult. We're going to have to try and navigate our way through this period, but are you hopeful that we can?
It's going to be difficult. We've seen how we've struggled in the last few weeks, and Anne just said how we've kind of been running on empty a bit the last few weeks, and now we've got these players back. It's been a bit different, but we're going to have a similar situation, so it definitely will be tough. We put in some good performances in the last few weeks, even if the results we haven't had the results to show for it. So I don't think it's a case of we're 100% not getting anything out of these games just because of the injuries, but it's going to be a lot tougher. So I think we can still get results. I don't expect us to win every game, but I don't expect us to lose every game either. So I think I'm guessing it'll be a few inconsistent results, but I still think, like, out of the 4 games, if we assume 4 Premier League games, let's assume they're missing all 3, I'm still probably looking at maybe that's 4 games, maybe 7 points.
I'll go for us to beat Burnley in the Cup, a draw away at United, a win at home to Brentford, a loss to Everton away, and to beat Brighton. I'll be very happy with that return. That's 7 points.
That's 7 points.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, well, let us know how many points you think we can get in that period. Obviously, it relies on as well with the FA Cup draw, who we get in the 4th round. We just got, if we do beat Burnley, we've got to hope for an easy tie, maybe a lower league team that we can, just give us a bit of hope, But that is the situation in January for the AFCON and the Asia Cup. Let me know how many points you think we can get around that period, and let me know how far you think each of those countries will go in their respective tournaments. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.